the nerds from Buena High School in Phoenix, Arizona. You can go to the next slide, because that's actually tell us about it. This is our 4th year at NERC. A lot of the members, other than myself, have done this before. I'm Danielle, Tim, David, Katie, and Thad. One of our members, Alan, couldn't be here today because we compete in FRC for a while now.
5 years.
5 years. And we have some members from, or mentors from another team, the typewriter repairmen. And they're kind of like our parent team, and they're the Forbes, and they help us out. And then our FRC mentor is Miss Schwartz, and she helps us with this team.
Our design process begins right after the FRC build, so we kind of have a time crunch with school and FRC. So we start talking about what we really want to do, we read through the mission, and then we'll begin building right as school ends. And we use information from our previous builds. A lot of us are experienced members with FRC and NERC, so we were able to use the information we'd learned before to help with this year's mission. What we do first is we look at the mission and we prioritize. We make a little grid and we say, these are the parts of the mission and how feasible are these parts, and do we have the time to do it? How many points are the points worth it? So that really gives us an idea of what we need to build for our robots. And then we start brainstorming about different ideas about how to build things. Our strategy was to mainly evaluate the mission and see what we really needed, and we definitely decided that we needed an actuated claw. So we added this claw onto last year's body of the robot, and it's this right here. So you can see that that's what we mainly worked on this year.
Is that a commercial claw, or did you develop your own?
We developed it. We used Vex parts and a bilge pump, and we'll talk more about that later too. We decided to use a lot of recycled parts, like the tether and the body of last year's robot, so all the motors were already on this one, the ROV. And that really helped us save money and time this build season. We placed priorities on the baits and the egg because we thought those were probably the main things that we could really achieve in our time. And so that's why we decided to mainly work on the claw. And we didn't have the torpedo this year because our parent team, they have been designing theirs. They spend a lot of time working on theirs, and it took forever for them to build a torpedo. So we figured in the 2 or so weeks that we had, it was kind of not really possible for us to develop a real working torpedo. So we decided to focus on other things instead. And last year we had a boat, and we wanted to make a new design of the boat this year because it provides more views and mobility.
Tell us a little bit more about the boat.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
So right now we're going to talk a little bit more about the ROV itself.
This is the ROV, Dr. Claw, named for the claw. David thought of those names. We used the same design as the same actual frame as last year. We just added this big bar on the front and to make it so we could lift and move things easily. We made the frame out of the aluminum angle and the rivet soles. And we've got three bilge pumps, 1,100 gallons per hour, 2 for moving front, backwards, and turning, 1 for going up and down right here in the middle. And then we've got this 1,500 gallon per hour pump using claw. I'll explain about the claw more in a moment. We've got these feet on the bottom. Those are new as well to make sure that this motor doesn't hit the ground when we set it down. It goes down. On the surface, we control it with one Vex controller. We've got one joystick moving it forward, backwards, and turning around, arcade drive. And we've got one moving it up and down, and then one opens and closes
So the claw has its own name because it was so important to the build this year. It's the Mad Cat because we went with an Inspector Gadget theme. And it's a pretty nifty piece of work. It uses a 4-bar system and fishing wire to open and close. So we can get it open enough that we can get the egg or the baits. We've added some mouse pad actually, so we can cushion it a little bit. It also has a bolt here, so it can work with this little tool, so we can actually turn and release the baits. Anything I'm forgetting? It's made out of 1/8" aluminum strap, and as that said, it's actuated by the 1500 GPH bilge pump.
Okay, and what you guys were asking about the boat, one feature of the team that we decided to do was, last year we made a boat out of a fish tank and put motors on it and surrounded it with PVC, but it was really heavy and it was hard to move around. So this year we went with a more portable design, just aluminum strap and a tube, and we made a lens with by melting Lexan and then pushing it down with a ladle, so we can see underwater. And in here we have a camera and a VEX receiver, so we can get it from the transmitter. We also have two 50-watt halogen lights to provide extra lighting for the ROV when it's underwater and looking for things. Also, it provides another top view to look around, and there's a lot of things that you just get points for seeing them and pointing them out, and this is one way to get them. Also, we used an inner tube because it's very light, easy to float around, even though it blows away a lot.
Okay, so the idea here is you have the boat on the surface. It's looking down on the operation of the ROV below it. Are there two different VEX controllers involved or a single one? Tell me about the control system that you use.
We've got two different controllers. So one person will control the boat, that would be Tim over here, and that will control the ROV. And they both use the controllers. So Tim's is a little bit easier. You just push forward or move and you turn. And they both have different viewpoints. So this one has its own light. It's a flashlight, an LED flashlight, 100 lumen, and it's got a camera as well.
Also, what's different is for the boat, the receiver is here in this pipe, but for the ROV, the receiver is up here where the batteries plug in, so it's on the shore.
Okay, so you mean when you say the receiver, I'm not familiar with receivers and VEXes. Is that the actual VEX control module itself, or is that something different?
So you have a controller, and you put a crystal wherever you want to control your robot. Usually you just use the little land robots. So you get that range, but here the receiver is on land, so it sends it through the cable instead of like the boat just goes through the air.
Okay, so the two are not attached in any way.
Nope.
Tell me about the umbilical on the ROV.
Well, the ROV has several cables. We use this because